Hey, what's up everybody? In this video tutorial, we're going to be taking a look at how to create the box from a bottom-up assembly approach for project 4.2.5, which is Automata Design Challenge. So currently right in front of me, what I have is I actually have the parts to my box. So this came with the kit that came with your core training materials, and you're going to see you have 1/4 inch pieces of MDF, so medium density fiberboard, that are cut to specific lengths. All right, so I have those out in front of me. What you can also reference for this is if you go out to our Google Drive folder, you're going to be seeing our Automata part working drawings, and you're going to see things like the Automata box back drawing, the box bottom, the box side, box top, and so on. So I can be referencing those drawings at this time as well. Um, so with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm in my my summer 2021 IED training folder. I'm sorry, project. So I should probably be creating a folder for Automata. So I'm just going to call this project 4.2.5 Automata Design Challenge. Okay, so that folder has been set up. I think I just did a wrong number here. Here we go, 4.2.5. There we go. So we've got that. So once I have that folder set up, okay, what I need to do now is go ahead and create a new design. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and just save this design as Automata box, and then this is going to be bottom up. Okay, for this specific example, I'm going to go ahead and do a save. Okay, all right, so that's going to be our assembly, okay, when we get to it. All right, so now what we can do is begin creating our other components to this. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go into new design, and I'm going to go ahead and do a save on this, and I'm going to be calling this my Automata box. And I don't know, let's just start with bottom. I'm going to go ahead and do a save. All right, so now that we have that created, okay, let's go ahead and get started. So I would be creating a sketch, okay, and it doesn't matter which one you pick. I'm just going to go ahead and, for this sake, just go ahead and pick on that work plane right there. Go into rectangle command, start it from the origin, and now I can go ahead and start plugging in my numbers. So I know this is 4. I'm going to hit tab, go to 5, okay, and we're going to see that sketch is done, so we can finish the sketch. Now we can go ahead and do an extrude. We're going to be pulling this up, and this needs to be a distance, okay, of 0.25, like so. Okay, so once that has been created, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a material to it. All right, so what I'm going to do is come up here, and I'm going to go ahead and just shut the data panel here. What I'm going to do is come up here, right click, and say I want to add a physical material to it. All right, so what I'm going to do is come down here, go to my wood folder. I'm going to cruise down, and I should be seeing our MDF medium density fiberboard. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to drag this up into here. All right, the problem that we see is it's gray. All right, it's just not the right color. So I'm going to right click on this and say I want to duplicate it. Okay, it's now with this duplicate, we can tell it's a duplicate because the number 1, and I can now come out and do some editing on it. So I'm going to hit the advanced button. I'm going to go into my appearance, and I'm going to come here where it says color. I'm going to pick on that, and now we can, we can start playing with this. Maybe we can get a little bit better color, you know, something that's actually going to be matching up what true MDF looks like. All right, so I can come down here, maybe darken it up a little bit. Okay, but that's what MDF looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK on that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit apply and OK. All right, and now I have that MDF that I can use. I might want to edit this where this is like MDF color. Okay, so it still has all the physical properties that we want. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and keep it right there. So I'm gonna right click on this. I'm gonna say I want to add to favorites. And then finally we can come over here and just drag this on top of it. So it does have that sort of MDF color. We're good to go, so I can go ahead and close out the box. All right, so we can see we have my Automata box bottom done. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a save on that. Say okay. All right, and now we can see that that is now part of my data panel. I'm now going to create a new design. And once again, I'm going to create a sketch. Okay, and what are we going to do next? We're going to do the same thing again, but this time it's going to be top. Okay, so if we're taking a look at top, once again, pick on a work plane, whichever one you want. Now I can come out here and create this. It's going to be the exact same sizes. It looks like I just moved over that. It's going to be the exact same sizes as our bottom. So this needs to be a 4. Okay, and this dimension here needs to be a 5, just like so. We can finish up with the sketch, do our extrude, pull this up, and here we go. And this needs to be coming up a distance of 0.25. Okay. All right, so I'm done with that. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And this time I'm going to be coming up here, okay, going into my physical material. All right, instead of going to Fusion 360 material library, I can come out here to favorites and look at there. Okay, we have my MDF set up just the same as last time. All right, so the last thing I have to do is come up here and let's just go ahead and do a save here. All right, and this one is going to be my Automata top. I'm sorry, Automata box top. All right. So now that we have that, here's a couple things we have to remember. All right. More than likely, we're going to be having rod guides that have to go in for this. All right. So the working drawings I'm providing to you, it's showing you the holes that are cut in this. The rod guide diameters themselves that are 3D printed would have a diameter of 0.5. So those would be snapping into these holes into the correct positions. So there's some things that you have to kind of figure out with your own automata. Are you going to have 2 holes, 3 holes, 4 holes, whatever that might be? All right, now's the time for you to kind of think about that because now we got to come in and create our holes. All right, just taking a look at the drawing, I'm having this up on the other screen in front of me. All right, looks like we have those 2 holes, diameter 0.5, and then we have some dimensions here. So what I'm going to do is, just to keep things simple, I'm going to now create a sketch on top of this surface. Okay, and I'm going to come out here and create a point. So I'm going to just drop a point here, don't care, and now I can go ahead and begin dimensioning those where they need to go. So starting from the origin to this point, looks like this needs to come over a distance of 1.25. All right, we're also going to be doing the same thing with this point. So here to here, okay, this needs to be a distance of 1.25. And then finally, we need to split the difference going from this edge here up to this point. That needs to be a distance of 2. And from here down to this edge, this needs to be a distance of 2. All right, so we have our points placed. Now we can go ahead and finish up with the sketch. And now we're going to be moving into our hole feature. All right, so what's kind of cool about hole features, it's going to actually recognize that there are points that are out there in space. All right, so all we have to do is just simply go and pick on those. Okay. All right, so in our case, our diameters are going to be 0.5. They're going to go all the way through. So I'm going to switch this up to 0.5 diameter. Okay, we can see if that's in the correct location. And instead of specifying a distance, we can just say all. Okay, we can see if that is just a simple standard hole. Now we can go ahead and say okay. All right, and those holes have been drilled for it. All right, so that's my Automata box top. We can go ahead and do a save. Okay, just like so. And now we can go ahead and get started on our next design. Okay, so I'm going to start up with a new design. Okay, I'm now going to come out here, go to sketch, and now we're going to be creating our side. So where the heck is my side at? There it is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, create on a work plane, and create a rectangle starting from the origin, and these sides need to be 4 by 4. So I'm going to type in 4, tab 4. Okay, to get that square size, we can now finish the sketch. And now I can go ahead and do an extrude just like last time, pull this out, that needs to come out a distance of 0.25. I'm going to go ahead and say okay. And finally, the last thing we need to do is come up here and let's go to our physical material. All right, so MDF color is still there, so I can drop that on it and close out. All right, and the last thing I need to do is come out here and place a hole. All right, so this time instead of going out and placing that with a sketch point, okay, we can just use the hole feature. So I'm going to come into hole. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just place the hole right here on top of the surface. And this hole is going to be dead center of this side piece. So I can pick on this reference edge. Okay, we know it's a 4 by 4 piece. So all I have to do is type in 2. It's going to scoot it over and then come up here like to this reference edge. That needs to be a 2. All right, so the box sides I'm making, this is going to be for a 1/4 inch round dowel that we're going to use for the axle. All right, so I'm going to just cruise on down here, find our diameter. I'm going to switch this up to 0.25 and not 0.5. All right, so that goes all the way through like so, and we say okay. All right, and that is our side. So I'm going to come up here, do a save. I'm going to be calling this Automata box side. All right, so we have that done. So we have a top, we have a bottom, we have a side, and finally now what we have to do is create a back. All right, so just tracking through, looking for my back. There it is. Okay, what I'm going to do is go ahead and create a new design, and I'm going to create a sketch. All right, once again, going into rectangle, starting from the origin, and this needs to have dimensions that are going to be 4, tab, and that's going to be by 4.5. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that sketch on that. Do an extrude, pull on this, and that needs to be coming out a distance of 0.25. We say OK on that. And now what we can do is come up here, right click, and go ahead, go into physical material. And just from last time, we can see that MDF color is still there from our favorites, so we can close out of that. All right, and our back is done. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and do a save. And I'm going to be calling this my Automata box back. All right, so we have all the parts that we need. All right, so we no longer need these components up here. All right, and now I am talking back to my original thing that I saved up, which was Automata box bottom up. And now I can start bringing in all the parts that I'm going to need. So I'm going to start here at Automata box bottom. I'm just going to drag that over the line, bring that in. And finally, I'm going to come here to the center grip, okay, and I'm going to pull that off. All right, you can still use the arrows on the triad. That's going to be fine, but I'm going to go ahead and just say okay on that. All right, so the first rule when it comes to any assembly is that you always ground the first part. All right, so in order to do that, we come up here to our Automata box bottom. We're going to right click, and now we're going to come up here and pick on ground. Now when I go to grab this, we can see that that cannot move. All right, so our bottom is in place. Now what we have to do is start bringing in our side. So I'm going to drag this side in. Once again, grab that center grip, pull that off, get it off the origin, and say OK. And then here's the side here, bring that in. Okay, I'm going to pull that off of the origin, okay, and say OK. All right, so now we have to start thinking about our joints. All right, how is this thing going to be placed on there? Well, now is a good time to begin using your orbit on the fly. All right, so once again, you're holding down Shift, holding down the scroll wheel, and moving your mouse, and you can do orbit on the fly. Okay. All right, so I'm thinking about this. This side here needs to be placed on top of this part, okay? And the thing is that this origin point that would be here in the center would have to meet up with this origin point that would be on the center. So I'm going to be coming up here, going to joint, okay? And now what I'm going to be looking for is going to be on this back edge. I'm going to be looking for that joint origin right there. But the thing is, we can see it's starting to do goofy things with the orientation. So if I come here to the center, I see that that's the correct orientation. I hold down Control. Now it's only going to be filtering for that specific orientation. So I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and pick it. Now I'm going to orbit this over, look at our bottom piece. Come in here, I like that orientation, hold down to Control, and now I can go ahead and bring it over to that point. And when we do that, we can see that those two have been brought together with a joint, and the only thing that we have to double check is to make sure when we go to the Motion tab that this is sitting on rigid. All right, you can always see the animate as well, showing those shaking, which means that those are put together. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. All right, so I can grab a hold of the side, nothing is moving. Why? Because it is fully constrained to the bottom. All right, we're going to do the exact same thing for this side piece. All right, so I'm going to flip this over, look at the bottom of it. Now I can come up here to joint, and now I'm going to be looking and filtering out in that orientation, okay, this center point right here. Flipping this over, bringing it to here, holding down Control, and bringing it to that midpoint right there. Okay, once again, going into motion, verifying it's rigid, and saying okay. We grab this side, nothing is moving. Okay, so we're good. So we have our sides that are now attached to the bottom. Okay, now we can go ahead and bring in our top. Okay, so zoom out a little bit on this. Go ahead, bring this over the line, bring top in. Okay, pull that off of the origin and say OK. Now, if anybody's asking why my top and my bottom are different because they're the same sizes, why can't I just use a duplicate of bottom? Well, you can see clearly there that there have to be holes in the top. All right, so that's why I made the top and the bottom as two different components, because if I drilled holes in one, it's going to be showing up in the other. And in our case, we don't need holes on the bottom. All right, so now we're ready for doing some joints here. So I'm going into joint. I'm going to be coming here to top, flipping this over, and just coming into here. Remember to hold down Control to find your filter. I like that origin right there, so I'm going to go ahead and pick it. And now I can go ahead and flip this over and look at this from the side. I like that orientation. Hold down Control so I can do the filter. I can go ahead and pick that to place that in. And now we can see that top grows right into place. Once again, go to Motion, verify it's rigid, and say OK. I grab a hold of it, nothing is moving, everything is looking really good. Okay? All right, so we're one step closer to completing our box. Now I'm going to be coming here to back. I'm going to be dragging that over the line, coming here to the grip, pulling this off of the origin, and now I'm going to go ahead and say OK. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip this around, okay? And what I want to do is to snap this guy into place, I'm going to come here to joint, come here along the side. I like this orientation, so I'm now going to hold Control and come right here to this point right there. Okay, that now needs to come over here to this side. Okay, hold down Control and let's see if I can get that to snap right in place. Everything looks like it's lining up. Everything's looking good over here. Once again, go to Motion, go to Rigid, verify that is there, and say OK. Grab a hold of back. We can see it's not moving. Switching over to our home view, we can see that now, using the parts from our actual Automata box kit, we can see that our Automata box is now fully constrained and ready to go for this assembly if you are wanting to do this in a bottom-up approach for assembly.